Hey there, retro movie fans. Welcome back to Retro Life for You, the podcast where we rewind the VHS and relive the best, the worst, and the weirdest movies of the 80s and 90s. I'm your host, Chris Adams, and today with me is not Travis Rollins, but our good friend of the show, Tim from Tell 'em, where you
80s
from?
flick flashback.
80s Flicks Flashback. That's right. I think makes, I don't know, I done lost count how many times you've been on here with us, Tim.
Yeah,
It's been several
it's been a
times.
good amount now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good amount now. We today we are going to well, we were actually going to do this a few weeks back, I believe, and we got sidetracked, didn't get to do it, so we're just now catching up to it and everything. But today we're doing moving violations. We're throwing on that turn signal, we're rolling down the window, and we're taking a wild ride through one of the most underrated comedies, ensemble comedies of the '80s, released in 1985. There's a very cool thing about this too. I'm gonna bring up in a minute to you. You probably already know when I bring it up to you as well. But uh, when's the first time you seen this movie that you remember seeing this movie, Moving Violations?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about it before. It wasn't rewatching it again. It's like I feel like I'd seen it before. Excuse me, seen it before maybe, but it wasn't one that I know that I saw a bunch of times. So I think maybe today might have been the first time I watched it all the way through that I can remember. But it was enjoyable. I had a lot of fun watching it.
I can remember it was a VHS rental for me. I remember my mom renting it because it was similar to Police Academy. Uh, and at the time when I saw Moving Violations, it wasn't brand new. I don't believe it was like Police Academy 2 was out, and we had rented Police Academy 2. She wouldn't rent Police Academy 1 for us. It was a little bit rougher than what 2 was for a kid to watch and everything. So uh, I did see that one, but it was basically a comedy spoof of Traffic School, and of course, traffic cops and everything. It was very fun to watch. It always cracked me up when I watched it, and I've been wanting to do it for a while now, just to bring it to people's attention who may not have seen this. And that's what we like to do sometimes. I think you do it on your show as well. You'll pick something where it might not be like a top a top draw movie of the year,
Yeah.
but it
I
was
call them
definitely
my
entertaining.
my forgotten 80s flicks,
There you
which are
go.
ones that, like,
That's
I remember watching on cable, wasn't, like, big at the theater or something I found on video that I know wasn't, like, a huge blockbuster that a lot of people may not remember, but it's something I remember watching as a kid and really liking.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that little segment you had. I could not think of it to save my life, the name of it. Um, but that's always a fun one for sure. So, for the people who haven't seen the movie, Moving Violations is a fast paced, absurd slapstick comedy about a group of misfit drivers that are sentenced to traffic school after repeated offenses. This time, though, if they fail, they lose their license for good and their cars are going to get sold um, after being impounded. But their instructors are corrupt and the system is rigged. So, what do? Well, they fight back, of course. Wacky schemes, car chases, lots of explosions. It's a part police academy, part Revenge of the Nerds, and all kinds of 80s fun. That's how it's described. So, and that pretty much sums it up. I mean, police academy style type of humor with a little slapstick put on it.
Mhm.
Um, I can see some Revenge of the Nerds style in it a little bit as well. I mean, maybe not
Yeah,
a
I was
lot.
kind of I was kind of like Police Academy and Summer School were the 2 vibes I was getting from it. So,
There is something I was reading earlier, and let me see if I can get it here pretty quick. It talks about how this movie either it inspired or it was part of a group of movies of the same inspirations,
mhm.
as far as the type of movies that they were. Um, but you had movies like there was Police Academy in 1984, Feds in 1988, Recruits in 86, Offbeat in 86, Night Patrol in 84, Hollywood Vice Squad in 86. a television movie comedy called Combat Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Replaced a police academy with a military academy, and like moving violations was made by the makers of Police Academy. So it's a group of movies all together that way, and I don't want to call it. It's not really a genre, but I mean, someone got that idea of making fun of that particular type of thing and ran with it, and it did well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Police Academy, I think I haven't covered it on my podcast yet, believe it or not. One day we'll get there. We're going to do all of them together. But um, I don't think that was expected to be the hit that it became. And I think when they saw, oh, this type of movie is going to make money, then they were like, what other kind of school can we make fun of with adults acting like children? So, yeah, I could see how there were a lot of copycat or similar storyline that they can make pretty cheap, like like this one.
Right. Let's before we get too far into it, let's go ahead. Sometimes we like to bring on and show the movie trailers if we think about it or if it's worthwhile or something. And for the people who are actually watching the video, this will give you a little bit better idea of what we're talking about. And for those of you listening, of course, you can hear it, but make a point to go to the YouTube channel and check us out, and or just go look the trailer up. Either one. But let's take a quick watch. It's about a minute 32 seconds long. So here we go.
All right, I want some quiet here. We've got a film to show you, but you're not going to see it. Because you people are without a doubt the worst drivers in the world. And your moving violations prove it. You will not get your licenses back until you pass this course in our traffic school.
Never be able to make it.
None of them will.
You think we're finished? Washed up history? Well, I've got news for you. It's not over till it's over.
Every one of you is a menace.
Come on, buddy, let's move!
You're reckless.
Oh my God, I'm 3 minutes late for my pills.
You're undisciplined.
This has totally ruined sex for me for the rest of my life.
I'll get you, you little wimp. But worst of all, you have no respect for authority.
Moving violations.
If I were you, I'd get used to public transportation.
There we go. Moving violations. I didn't watch it just before the show today. I watched it, when we were going to do it, about 3 weeks ago, I'd watched it then.
Yeah.
But it's still fresh on my brain pretty much, on
Mhm.
how it went and everything. So I feel pretty confident with it and all. But I wanted to go over some of the cast, and I want to bring up one thing really quick. There is 3 people in this movie that are siblings of other stars that have been in bigger
Yes.
movies.
Yep. Well, I
And
know
it's
2 of them. I guess you'll tell me the third. I mean, I might miss that one.
So who do you got?
John Murray is the brother of Bill Murray,
Right,
and James Keach is the brother of Stacy Keach.
right.
Those are the only 2 that I know.
All right. Jennifer Tilly, sister to Meg Tilly.
Oh, that's right. I always forget the 2 of them. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Then this movie, it's got some people. It's in an ensemble. John Murray,
Mhm,
James Keach, Jennifer Tilly, Brian Backer, he's Fast
mhm.
Time at Ridgemont High.
Yep. Yep.
Clara Peller, although she's not a main star in it, she's got a couple of different appearances. And for those of you who are unaware of who Clara Peller is, if you've ever seen any of these flashback things to the 80s, especially Wendy's commercials, there's a little old lady who's looking at this burger, and she made this very famous quote that was quoted, I can't tell you how many years after the fact.
Mhm, mhm.
And they made a play off of it in the movie here.
Yeah. Yeah,
But she would say in the commercial, she'd say, "Where's the beef? I don't
Mhm.
see the beef. Where's the beef?" And what was the question she asked in this one? That was where? Oh, where's my baggage?
Yeah, yeah. Where's the baggage? Yeah.
Her sister in the movie is played by Nidra Valls, and
Mhm.
for a lot of people, we remember her as Adelaide on Different Strokes. She was one of the housekeepers that they had. A lot of us
Yep.
know her as the lady that runs the post office in Hazard County in Dukes of Hazard.
That's right. That's right.
Yep, that's her. And she's been in many other things other than that as well. Wendy Jo Sperber
Mhm.
plays a character on there. I believe she was in that TV show, Bosom Buddies,
She was. Yep.
and that's where I know her from. I'm not sure much of anything else, but I know
She did a
she was
couple of
known from it.
movies. Yeah, she did a couple of movies as well. Kind of side characters like she is in this one.
Right. Fred Willard, funny in everything
Awesome.
he's ever been in.
Yeah. I mean, just that whole bit of him being the doctor and she thinking it's that he's talking that he's a real doctor.
Yeah.
She's the hypochondriac. I mean, every single scene that bit was going on. Oh my gosh,
It,
that was so funny.
it
That might have
wasn't
been my favorite bit of everything of the whole
wasn't
movie.
there like a problem with her rear end? He told her.
He was like, "Yes, like, we're gonna clear your rear end."
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
"Is your
told
rear
her.
end leaking? Leaking?" Is that what he said? He's like, "Is your
Yes,
rear end leaking?
yes,
Don't you hate
yes.
that when your neighbors see you coming and you're leaving wet spots in the driveway?"
And then when he tells her to do the car, and she's taking it that she must do it, he's talking about
Yeah.
something about filling it
Flush
up
all the
with oil.
liquids. Yeah, flush
Yeah,
all your liquids,
right.
and then 2 quarts of oil,
Mhm.
and then take some of the other oil and,
Take it on the
wipe it
freeway.
wipe wipe it around your rear end.
Yeah,
Get it up there nice and smooth, and then run it as hard as you can for 10 miles.
right. Oh god,
Yeah.
that was probably one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Sally Kellerman's the only other really notable one to me.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
she she'd been in quite a few things. I believe she was in the MASH movie as
Yep.
Houlihan.
And she
Um,
was also I guess, Rodney Dangerfield's love interest in Back to School.
yes, she was. You're right. She was the
Mhm.
teacher,
Yep.
the college
Yep.
professor, or whatever. You're right. Forgot about that.
And
Um,
there is one person that popped up that I did not expect to see as a cameo before they were
I know,
famous. Do
I
you
know
know
you're
who it
talking.
was?
Yeah, Don Cheadle,
Don Cheadle is the drive-through worker when
right?
all the cars with no drivers come smashing through the drive-through.
If I'm not mistaken, it said this was his debut
I
in a
believe it. I mean,
movie.
yeah, yeah. I know he popped
So,
up on Golden Girls a couple of years later, but that was
and am I the only person who did not know that he was from England or something like that? I mean, I've never heard him talk normal. I just always heard him talk in a movie where he has an American accent.
he is American. I think
Someone
he does accents in movies, but he's American. Yeah.
someone told me he was British.
Nope. He did the
They
British
lied
accent
to me.
in Ocean's 11, but that's totally fake. That's not his real. Yeah, he's American.
I cannot believe they lied to me.
Check your resources. I'm about to pull him up now.
I am too. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, did they really and truly lie to me like that? Come on.
Let's see. Don Cheadle, Juicy Burgers worker. That was his credit.
Right.
He was born in Kansas City, Missouri. I
Sure
don't think you get
was.
any more non-British than that.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have me a talk with somebody later. they're probably gonna be laughing when they listen to this. They're gonna be
Uh-huh.
like, got him.
Yep, right. You got for sure.
There are some people you just learn to hate in life, I tell you. Coming for you, buddy. You know who I'm talking about. You know who you are. Oh my
Mhm.
god. Pull this list back up again. So back over the cast again. John Murray wasn't in I don't think he's been in a whole lot really. And this was his
No.
first starring role that he did.
Mhm.
That he was like a main person of. But What you mentioned, Bill Murray's brother. He's been in Scrooge and had a minor role in Caddyshack. So he's appeared in
Mhm.
several things before. Jennifer Tilly, uh, this is one of her earlier roles, of course, but she
Yeah.
eventually hit it big doing other things. She did Bound, she did Liar Liar, Bullets Over Broadway. She's been in
Mhm.
many things since then. I don't think she's ever really been like a leading lady kind of role. More of a supporting
No,
actress.
not that I can think of, yeah.
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 James Keach played the character Deputy Halleck. That's the one that was going to
Mhm.
run the school. And there's a reason why he's running the driving school, the driving class. Do you remember the reason why he's having to run the show there? Him and his partner.
Oh, is that when they destroyed the captain's car?
Yep.
Yeah.
You got Dana with Dana Cannon, which is John Murray. He's got his
Yeah.
I think his leg propped up on the bumper of the car, and they see it's him, and they want to
Yeah.
give him some grief because of what happened.
Mhm.
He got him in trouble with his boss before, and he's trying to get his promotion. And so he goes over there, and he never lets it on that it's not his car, but he doesn't say it is his car either.
Right, right,
And
right.
they just start destroying the car. They're knocking out headlights, tail lights, putting dents in the fenders, and smashing in the hood. And all of a sudden, there's the captain, and he's trying to explain what he's doing. Well, sir, you see, his car. And then there's like my car. He said, "What?" You know, it's, my
Mhm.
car, and they realize it sets it to him what they've done. They've tore up the wrong car. So he's having him and his partner having to run the school. Um, he was in things like The Long Riders, National Lampoon's Vacation. In National Lampoon's Vacation, he had a little bit of it's like a more of a cameo, I guess, than anything. He's a motorcycle cop.
Yep, yep.
So and now National Lampoon's Vacation. I'm trying to remember. Is the first one the one where they've got the grandmother
Mhm. Yeah.
and her dog, and the dog got left tied up by mistake on the back of the car, and that's when that's the motorcycle cop that pulled him over.
Yep.
Right.
That's it,
Okay. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Brian Backer, as I mentioned earlier, known for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he played Mark the Rat Ratner in and that,
Yep,
and I
yep.
know he's been in other things as well. I think he after the fact played some more supporting roles in other movies similar to these. Ned Eisenberg. I'm trying to remember who Ned Eisenberg is in here. It says Ed Rule.
Yeah, he looks familiar. He's been in some other stuff, but he's not someone that has been in
Oh,
anything, like, major.
I know who he is now. Ned Eisenberg. Okay. Yeah, he went on to appear in things like Law and Order SVU and stuff like that, but he was in a couple of slasher films too, as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So, and that's why
That
he
makes
plays what
sense.
he's playing in the movie because of doing that.
Mhm.
Fred Willard as Dr. Miller, like always hilarious. He was best in show. This is Spinal Tap, and he's also had a
Yeah.
part in Anchorman, which was hilarious.
Mhm, mhm.
And then we talked about Sally Kellerman already. She's Judge Nidra Henderson, known for Oscar-nominated role Hot Lips Houlihan and MASH. And then, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, Rodney Dangerfield's love interest in Back to School. The movie itself's directed by Neil Israel, the same guy who co-wrote Police Academy and directed Bachelor Party. So just by those two alone, you pretty much know you've got some kind of crazy comedy coming your way. And it was produced by Julie Corman, who is the wife of legendary B movie, king director Roger Corman.
Right, right.
So a lot of family stuff going on here, is there not? I mean, three of the
Yeah.
actors in the film, producer of the movie. Let's see. Moving Violations had a modest budget of around 5 million and grossed just 10.6 million at the box office. So it at least doubled its budget. It didn't really light up the charts, as they say, but like many 80s comedies, it found a second life on its VHS run and cable reruns, especially late night TV. And I can see that 'cause that's one of those types of movies that you would see coming on, around 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, for just a good comedy to watch or something. So,
I was trying to remember the person's name that played the captain, Robert Conrad. I
Yes,
don't know
and
why his name doesn't show up on the credits very well, but what?
Police Chief Rowe. Do you know what else you seen him in?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
Wasn't he in Police Academy?
No,
He's not in Police Academy. He reminds
no.
me of the guy from Police Academy. Then, not Commandant Lassard, but his boss. He reminds me of him.
Oh, I have to go back and watch. I don't remember.
So I'm
Robert
reading
Conrad.
here. Robert Conrad accepted
Wild
the
Wild
role.
West. He was the lead in the old TV show Wild Wild West. That's where I knew him from.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
there's always something. You see that person, you recognize the face, but you could
Yeah.
never. It's like you could never
Yeah,
pick out the movie they were in. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
I
like
meant to
it's
look it up
almost,
before we started, and I was like, when you were going through the cast, I was like, wait, I don't see the captain's name here. Where is it? And then I was like, he's got to be. I know he's somebody. Who is he? And I had
oh,
to,
do you
go
know?
through.
Do you know what else you probably know him from? The motorcycle cop in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep, and that's not the guy that I'm thinking of. That's Commandant Lassard's boss either. But he does
Right. Yeah, I didn't think he was in that one.
he does resemble him a little bit, though. To be honest with you,
Right.
looks a little bit like him, but you can. There's a definite distinct difference in him. Yeah, and then Wild Wild West played the role of Jim West.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That was it. That was my older sister. That was one of her favorite shows, reruns that would come on, and I got to where I kind of liked watching it too. It's not one that I remember very well, but she loved that show, so I remember it being on a lot. So
Well, and the reason why I thought Police Academy, not only does he kind of resemble the guy a little bit, but it
Mhm.
says it's also here. It says he accepted the role of Police Chief Rowe in this film
Mhm.
because he regretted not taking the role of Commandant Lassard in Police Academy
Yep.
in '84.
Yep.
So
I was
apparently,
reading that.
apparently it was offered up to him, and he completely turned it down. We mentioned John Murray again earlier. Just looking at this, touch back on him for a second. Performance was considered to be a mimic of his older brother, Bill Murray, on-screen
Yeah.
persona from such movies as Meatballs, Caddyshack, and Stripe. So he's taken a little bit of everything from him and put
Mhm.
it into this character that he's got.
Yeah. I mean, he's really funny. Like, I think he did really well in the role, but you can tell they wanted Bill Murray. It's
Mhm.
almost like they were wanting him to say things like it's like I know it's his brother, but it's like a lot of things like, okay, they wanted Bill Murray and couldn't get him, so they've got his
Right.
brother and he's getting I mean, let's be honest. That's how James Belushi became famous. His brother
Right.
John passed away. They needed somebody to be similar but couldn't be the exact same. And James Belushi's career was born. I mean,
Right.
he's great. I'm not knocking him, but he is still not his brother. Like he has his own comedy style that he eventually got to do. But like when he first kind of came on the scene, they just wanted him to be a mimic of his brother. And I can see that for John Murray in this movie a lot, where it's like if I close my eyes, it's like, oh, it's almost like Bill Murray, like sounding like him,
Mhm.
but it's just not quite the same.
We were talking about or James Belushi once before, and we're like, "Can you name your favorite movie of James Belushi?" And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, and I started to say it, but then I paused because I was like, "Oh, wait, there's this one. Oh, and there's that one." Yeah, I was gonna say The Principal, but then
Oh
there's
yeah,
Canine.
yep, which
Then there
is
was
great.
Taking Care of Business
Yep,
with Charles
yep.
Grodin. They were great together in that.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
he's had a bunch of good things out there to watch. It's hard to really pick one, but you know, I did like The Principal though quite a bit. Um, where were we at a while ago? We were talking about the producer and stuff, weren't we?
Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, actually, I think I got us off track about that one guy. Um, so a couple behind the scenes facts here. There's more of it I'll be bringing up in a minute, but this is just a couple of things that come up. Dan Aykroyd was considered for the lead role before John Murray was cast,
Mm-hmm.
but he passed on it so he could work on Spies Like Us. probably a better decision.
Yeah, I mean, you I'm sure he knew what kind of movie this was. I mean, it was just trying to, cash in on what Police Academy. So I don't think he was trying to be in that type of movie for sure.
Yeah, and plus he was in this movie with in Spies Like Us with what, him and Chevy Chase.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he had a chance to work with someone like that as well for a good comedy movie. It's probably known it was going to go better than Moving Violations. Judge Reinhold and Michael Keaton were both floated for roles, but neither were available or they were just too expensive. Doesn't really specify which. Could be one or the other. The casting of John Murray, though, was controversial. Some thought that he only landed the role due to his famous brother,
Mm-hmm.
but the director Neil Israel defended him, saying his delivery and timing was undeniably funny, and that's not a lie. He
Yeah.
really was funny in the movie.
Oh yeah. He has some great one-liners, some great comebacks. And he's not as deadpan as his brother. Like Bill Murray's has a much more deadpan delivery. His was more of a zinger. So I mean, it's kind of he has his own style for sure.
Well, when I first seen this movie, I told you I was like a young teenager. I was probably around 13, 14, I guess,
Mhm.
somewhere there when I first saw it. Maybe 15. I laughed until I cried. Literally laughed till I had tears rolling down my face. The instructor has had enough of him finally, and it's on. And he has decided, Dana has decided he's going to stand up to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
he
yeah,
says,
yeah.
"Yeah, I'm going to get my butt whipped, yeah, but we're going to do this. Let's get it on. Let's go." And so the instructor's like, "Well, what would you like to do?" He's like, "Box? Because, I was boxing champ and such. Or would you like karate?"
Karate.
Hell yeah. And he's got the little classic stance like this with his hands, throws a little kick out there, shows him what he can do with that. I think he throws one more thing out there, and then Dana goes, "Let's do a real man's thing, all right? Arm wrestling."
Mm-hmm.
Which the female cop starts laughing because she knows that he was arm wrestling champ for several years in a row. So what made me laugh so hard though was they lock up hands on the table. They're getting ready,
Mm-hmm.
and as they're counting down, he's doing little things like he looks like he's blowing him a kiss at one point, and then he winks at him. And then when they count down to one, he reaches over and plants one right on his lips.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
cop is so shocked that he did it. He slams his hand down for the victory, and then takes off running for his life. Uh, that had me laughing so hard when I seen it. I literally had tears rolling down my face with it. uh, much of the traffic school scenes they were talking about that they filmed, it was really it was an abandoned school in Los Angeles they had found to use. So didn't take any place over, which is good. Several of the stunt cars scenes that they did, they repainted the vehicles to reuse them again
I
because it's
believe it.
such a low budget film to save money.
Yeah, I believe
It says including reused parts from Death Race 2000.
it.
Now, I never heard this one before, and I don't even know why it would have been considered because I don't see how that would have worked. But the film's tone was so cartoonish that Warner Brothers originally wanted to animate parts of it, a la Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But the idea was scrapped early. Could you? I mean, how could? Where would you see that being?
No,
Where would you
yeah,
see that being good?
nowhere. I mean, it does have some like that's in the trailer, like when the bowling ball knocks over the people that are standing by the bus stop. A couple of them go flying off, but you hear the bowling pin sounds. That was
Right.
funny. But if
Yeah.
you animated that, it wouldn't have been as funny because it was more like watching a real life cartoon.
That particular
it-
scene you're talking
yeah,
about, that one for
yeah.
me drug out a little bit too much.
Oh
How
yeah,
many
yeah.
times did the car supposedly spin around and around and
Right.
around,
And why
slinging?
did not all the bowling balls come out at one time? They're all single charged or single shot out of the back window.
Why'd she have so many bowling balls in the back of the
Right,
car?
right, right.
One of them, which was a funny scene for me too, growing up. The grandpa's like, "Come here, Billy, sit in the grandpa's lap," and all of a sudden that bowling ball lands there.
Yeah, yeah. That
Oh,
one got me. That one got me.
uh,
Yeah.
I,
I'll
I don't
say
know
one of
why
my
Listen, I don't know why we laugh at stuff like that so hard because we both know if it happened to us, we would not
Oh
be
yeah, yeah.
laughing at all.
It's always funny when it happens to somebody else.
It's like the funny
Um,
bone, right?
yeah. One of my other favorite bits is the old lady that's blind, and nowhere during the class to say, why don't you get new glasses? Like, she still can't see at the end of the movie, but I love the scene when she's picking up her sister at the airport and she's like, I can drive, I can see just fine. And she
Hmm.
goes and gets in the other car, and then the dog starts kissing her. She's like, oh, it's good to see you too. Oh, you look so pretty. You must have got your hair done. And then she's calling her name, Edna, Edna. And she's like, oh, and then she gets out. And then at the end, she's like, I'm driving. Why are you? I can drive. Like, I just got my certificate. And then she gets in the back seat of the car. I was like, those are just, I mean, that's just good old fashioned comedy. It's just funny.
Well,
And even
what
though I knew it
about
was coming, it still made me laugh.
what about her in the bathroom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why is my back all wet?
She- she's sitting on a urinal for
Yeah.
crying
Yeah.
out loud. She's sitting on a urinal, and I think you're in the wrong restroom. He's
Right.
really, why is my back so wet?
Yeah. She does have the best line in the movie, though, that we can't say on your show.
That's
But
what made it go from PG to PG
no,
13.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then Dana's like, I think she's had enough. She's had too
right,
much to drink. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Speaking of her,
Yeah.
she did a lot of her own stunts that was
Yeah. I
required.
saw
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
76 years old at the time of filming, she shot many of her tricky scenes, including sliding and falling to the floor and
Hmm.
sitting on a while, from sitting on a man's lap and then being lifted through the window onto the floor of the bathroom without the use of a stunt double. So that's pretty brave on her part at
Hmm.
76 years old. Pretty impressive as well that she did that and pulled that off. So it's pretty cool. Jennifer Tilly also did many of her own stunts, include a sequence where she crashes into the parked squad car. And they said that scream that she let out was legit and real.
I believe it.
She wasn't. I guess she wasn't really expecting it to be quite like that. Um. So let's see if we find a couple more of these real quick before we get to the discussion questions here. Uh. Oh, a pretty impressive feat at the time. They said it was actually it was called considered a monumental feat in studio filmmaking. From the time the movie was written, filmed, and eventually released into theaters was approximately 6 months.
Hmm.
And I'm going
Yeah.
to go out here and say I don't doubt it because you can tell that film was just thrown together.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It was not well thought out in some things, and I'm not running it down because it cracked me up. It was a very funny movie, but you could tell
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of thought and effort and stuff put into this film.
Yeah. It
So
did. I mean, I think it did what it wanted to do. It was funny. It was kind of the old, like, like ensemble comedy, like Police Academy. It gets a little bit like the old It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, like those kind of like comedies at the end. Like the end did drag on, like, okay, every person that's been in the movie that's somewhere else is all going to end up running down the street to find the police chief. So like that seemed like a little over the top for me, but
yeah,
that's that old Hollywood type of like pulling everybody together for the big finale. I mean, it's um, um what's that word? It's a trope at this point, but you kind of need it for this movie, so it works.
it does. There was what was the role he was considered for? Michael J. Fox was in. Oh, Michael J. Fox was interested in starring in the picture, so he would have been
Murray.
instead of Murray, he would have been Michael J. Fox instead. But the producers thought he was too young,
Yeah, I could
so
see that.
instead he went on to replace some guy named Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future in 1985. I'm not so sure that was a great plan, though. I mean, he could have been in moving violations.
Yeah.
Back to the
I don't know.
Future.
Yeah, I get a little, I want to check my sources because I see that he ends up like leaving other projects to do Back to the Future a lot, in IMDb just because it happened to be the same year. So I'm not, I guess like, oh, there's only so many things he could have done. So
I haven't seen a lot of it. What are some of the others? Did you remember some of the others you've seen?
that they said he left to do this one, to do Back to the
Yeah.
Future.
Yeah.
I know there was like a story that circulated for a while, and I don't know if it was ever true, that he was filming Teen Wolf at the time when Eric Stoltz was still filming Back to the Future, and he made a comment about, I can't believe I'm over here making this teenage werewolf movie, and Steven Spielberg is over there making a time travel movie. Like, it sounds convenient, but I don't know how true it is. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we never know, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these people are not just saying that they want them and they try out for them. Sometimes they're just, they're requested.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We were talking, we did interview with a vampire last week.
Mm-mm.
Excuse me. And they were talking about all the different people that they had lined up. They wanted to play Tom Cruise's role of Lestat.
Lestat, yeah.
And there was a ton of names on there, and a lot of them turned them down for other things, which went on to be great movies. But I mean, you always hear those same names also thrown out in other ones from the same year because they were in high demand. So I could see him being, now the fact that they say he was interested in starting in it, that may or may not be true. I don't know.
Right.
It could be they wanted him and he was like, no, I'm doing this over here. Thanks anyway. But I just don't know. But yeah, he's dating, he does come up a lot. You are right. The films, did you read the film's closing epilogue as it's going off?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Dana Cannon goes on to that was Murray's character. Sentenced to traffic school 5 more times. They says finally in desperation, the county made him the instructor. Now no one fails the course.
Mm-hmm.
Smart idea. All right. So to kind of touch on its legacy a little bit, I guess. It didn't really become a massive franchise like Police Academy, and I don't think anybody really expected it to. There's only so much you can do with a movie about traffic school, all right? It's not one that you want to see repeated over and over again. So why anybody in their right mind would say it didn't have a chance to become a massive franchise is just really crazy anyway. But it's still fondly remembered by fans of slapstick and underdog ensemble comedies. The film is a time capsule of a Reagan-era rebellion, 80s fashion, and exaggerated authority figures, it says. I got a question about that, though. Get your thought on here. Fondly remembered by fans of slapstick and underdog ensemble comedies. How many underdog ensemble comedies of the 80s do you remember? I mean, really, that was considered that shouldn't do well, but kind of did well. Because it's like an underdog. You wouldn't think it'd do good, but it did. Not something.
Revenge of the Nerds, like you mentioned. I think that qualifies.
Yeah.
Police Academy, we've already mentioned. I'm trying to think of like as an ensemble.
See, I don't know if Police Academy counts though, because ensemble means a cast of stars all throughout or something, like a group of well-known people or something. It's like, look at Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is definitely an ensemble movie. Full of
but they weren't all that famous before Lord of the Rings.
But I mean, Sean Astin, Elijah Wood, Hugo Weaving, Ian McKellen, the guy that played Bilbo was already well known in England.
Yeah. But I think I would define ensemble just meaning it's not focused on one specific character, like one or two characters. Like you have multiple people that have stories that it follows, and they all kind of working together. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, famous or well known. But even this one had more people in it that I recognized than didn't. So maybe they weren't, they weren't A-list movie stars, but they were people you had seen in other things, maybe more on television or side characters in other movies, but you know,
And by the way, by the way you define ensemble, Police Academy definitely falls into that role. Then
mhm.
I can see that. But it just struck me, weird when I read that. I was thinking to myself, how many of those did I actually see that fit that description?
Mhm.
Revenge of the
Goonies.
Nerds, even though I mentioned it earlier, I didn't really think about that one.
Yeah,
So did you say Goonies?
I said Goonies.
Goonies.
Underdog, Ensemble.
Yeah.
There was multiple of them.
All right. I give up. I'm having a bad day, man. I'm like 0 for 1,000 with things here. Don Cheadle is American born, by the way. You know who you are
Right.
listening out there. It's
Check your
fine.
sources.
That's right. Check your sources. Quit feeding me false info. Um, it's been one heck of a day, man. All right. So, couple little discussion things here, and we'll move along. The film itself, was it just another Police Academy clone movie to you, or was it a little bit more? I don't want to say ahead of its time, like it says on here for the question, but I mean, uh, you can't say it's ahead of its time. It's one of those similar movies, like we mentioned of the others before. But would you call it a Police Academy clone movie, or would you say
No.
they just kind of fed off of it a little bit and had some
Yeah, I
similarities?
mean, it definitely has some similarities, but I don't feel like it's a complete clone. I mean, there's, you know, I mean, it's kind of more of like a combination. Like I even thought like it's kind of like Stripes, you know, Bill Murray, you know, I guess another underdog
There you
ensemble.
go. That's
Yeah.
another one. Man,
So so
I'm
so
hanging up my
yeah,
microphone after tonight, Tim. I'm hanging it up.
so yeah, so I think it was kind of pulling from a couple of other movies as well. I'm sure, you know, produced by the makers of Police Academy was trying to help it, but I don't think it's a carbon copy, no.
Mm. What do you think about this type of ensemble comedy in today's day and age? Would you like to see more of those with today's crop of stars that we have? Do you think that, or is that style just kind of past its time now?
I think if it's funny, I think it work. I mean, ensemble comedies still work today. They're
Rat
not as
Race.
yeah, right. Yeah, the Rat Race for sure. Um, but you know, like Bridesmaids, Girls Trip, you know, those have been very popular. Um, like I said, they're not as common now as they were back then. Not that of course you asking that question, they weren't that common then either. But I think if you have a strong enough, I think if you have the right cast and a good script and a good story, it can work. So I mean, ensembles work. The Avengers is ensemble, so people want to
Yes.
see multiple people working together. So I think it works.
I think when it comes to the Avengers, people look at it as like a dream cast to them or something.
Oh yeah,
Do
for
you
sure.
do you do you remember before X-Men, before the first X-Men came out? People were putting their ideas out of who they wanted to see in the movie. Everybody
Mhm.
wanted to have Arnold Schwarzenegger be Colossus. They wanted Patrick Stewart, which they ended up getting, being Professor
Mhm.
X, right? They wanted Alec Baldwin or Alex. Which one's the younger Baldwin that was in Fair Game? Alex,
No, Fair Game was it's not Steven.
Billy Baldwin.
Billy
Oh,
Baldwin. There you go. Yeah,
okay, then I guess it was him then. Uh, or it could have been Alex. Alec Baldwin's the one that shot somebody by accident, right?
correct.
On a set. So Alex Baldwin is the one that I was thinking of. I forget what all he's done, but they wanted him as Cyclops.
Okay.
They wanted the model Iman to be Storm. They're just going through and picking people that resemble the
Oh
cartoon
yeah.
character in a way. They wanted Harvey Keitel to be Wolverine.
I don't know why
Um,
they would thought that
uh,
was a good idea.
just the way I guess because Wolverine gave you the appearance of an older guy in a way, but he was still strong
Mhm.
and indestructible and things like that. Um, then there was Julia Roberts. They wanted to play Rogue. Um, and they wanted Jean Claude Van Damme to play Gambit because of Hard Target. He kind of resembled him in Hard Target. So they're like that was the first talk around of getting a big, huge cast of people together to
Mhm.
play in that type of movie. And then they were like, well, that'll never work. Getting all these types of stars together, they can't coincide together. No, we're not doing it. Along come the Avengers. Look at all
Mhm.
the star power you got in Avengers. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's really crazy, and it works.
Yeah. Look what Stallone did with Expendables here more recently.
Exactly.
I mean, to
Exactly.
pull, he's had, I mean, it didn't get better as they went on, but like that first one you had, even you just had that scene with Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Bruce Willis together in one scene. That was monumental at the time because nobody thought you'd see the three of those in one movie together.
Right.
So yeah,
And every action star you could think of from that type of action type of style movie, he practically brought in. I
yeah,
think he was starting to dig into the B movies at one point, starting to bring
oh yeah,
people in like
yeah,
that. And I
yeah.
was just
By the
waiting for
yeah,
the day to see him bring in Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock. I was waiting for them two to pop in.
right, right.
Never got that. Um, well, one more discussion question for you. We're gonna try and keep it. We're definitely keeping it under an hour for sure, or right at an hour at the very least. But your favorite character from the movie, and who had the best? We'll just call it funny reel. Like,
Ooh, um, I think Loretta, the old lady, I think she was my favorite character. Um, just because she was funny. Just her being blind, like not being able to see, was funny to me. I mean, Murray was great. I mean, Dana Cannon. I mean, but I don't like picking like the main character because that's who you see the majority of. Um,
right?
but yeah, she's the character that stood out to me more than the rest. And then what was the second part of that question?
Who had the best funny scene? I guess.
Oh, ooh. See, that's it. See that? Yeah, I think we've already talked about. I think the Wendy Joe Sperber and Fred Willard, like
Yes.
this is really those two scenes where she first meets him and she thinks he's a doctor and he's telling her all these things that asking her all the questions. Like that was funny. And then when she actually goes to the clinic and quote unquote the clinic
Yeah.
and she thinks she's, like that whole sequence was hilarious. Like though that's probably the two scenes that I think I laughed the most at. I remember.
I think if I'm steering clear of the main character,
Yeah.
main characters would have been the one that Murray played, and then Keach played, being the
Yeah.
motorcycle cop. To me, they're the two leads of the movie, really, because the protagonist, antagonist, and all that stuff. Uh,
Right.
but Jennifer Tilly's character was kind of
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
and at one point he's like, who she thinks she is, a rocket scientist or something,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
they're talking. I said, by the way, what do you do for work? Oh, I work for NASA. I'm a
Mhm.
rocket
Yeah.
scientist.
Yeah. That was funny. That was a
Who
good one.
knew? Who knew? As far as funny scene goes for me, I'm gonna stick with the arm wrestling things. Like I told you, when I first watched that movie the first
Mhm.
time, I laughed till I had tears running down my face. I could not quit laughing at how goofy that was and how funny it was. I think it was the shock too, the shock value
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You
that
didn't see it coming.
right, you did not see that coming. And then the look on his face after it happened on James Keach's face
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
equally as like, what just happened? you know? So that always that to me that's the funniest one. And I'll go with her, I guess, as the character since this is not a main character. But I'll be honest with you though, if you hadn't have taken her, I would have taken Loretta. I would I would have. I didn't want to pick
She's
yours
great.
though. Since you picked it, I didn't want to pick the same one. I want to, spread it
Yeah.
out a little bit. So uh that was definitely more fun. So before we get to closing out, go ahead and put the podcast out there and tell them where they can find you, what you've done recently, what you got coming up, anything you want to share on it. Let everybody know again.
All right. So it's the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere you can find this podcast. We just started doing video podcasts like Chris has been doing for a while. and putting them on YouTube. So you can find them on Spotify, the video or the audio, and you can find the video or audio only on YouTube now as well. But we're in the summer, and a couple of years ago, I did a Summer of Sequels series where we did part 2 of any of the 80s movies we'd covered previously. So we did stuff like Rambo First Blood Part 2, Lethal Weapon 2, those type of movies. And so this year I decided to do Summer of Sequels 2, Revenge of the Sequel, because you got to have a subtitle. And
Right.
so now we're doing part 3s of some, not the same movies, but some of the movies we've covered previously. So we just did Superman 3. We've got Karate Kid 3 coming up. We're going to do Rambo 3, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then we're going to, in August, we'll tackle the horror movies. So we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
I love Dream Warriors.
Yep. So
had you on for Dream Warriors, didn't we?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
when
yeah,
you and I
yeah.
did that. Well,
That's
we
right,
did.
yep.
We did a combination. We did 1 and 3,
did.
and we called it Nancy's Story. Is what we did.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, we didn't exactly
Yeah.
do just 3 only. We could have focused a lot more on 3, and it would have been great. I love part
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
I was telling you earlier before the show started. There's a Comic-Con in Lexington, Kentucky in October, and the reason why I wanted to go to it and still may, but I can't make up my mind if I'm going to go yet or not. Certain things may be holding me back here, but there's a Elm Street 3 reunion that's there. So Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund, which is Nancy and Freddie, they're going to be there.
Mhm.
Then the roles of of most of the kids that are in the hospital there, the Kincaid, the Joey, no, not Joey. Who's the one that was the puppeteer kid? I can't
I don't
remember his
remember.
name, but he gets taken.
That was a couple of years ago. I haven't watched it since then.
The girl who, when she dreams, she's bad. She's got the switchblades and the mohawk.
Mhm.
The one kid in the wheelchair,
Right,
who
right.
is a wizard, he's going to be there. They've also got some extra Elm Street people from other ones, like the main lead guy actor and girl actor in part 2, and Lisa Zane from one of the later Elm Street. I think Freddy's Nightmare or something like that. Anyway, Dream Warriors, you just sparked that in my mind and made me think of that it's going to be there and everything. That's awesome though. I want to go look at your upcoming movie list. You got some good ones coming out. Yeah, I know you sent it to me not too long ago. I got to go check that out again.
Yeah, I got to put your name down so I can get you scheduled.
I'm gonna have to for sure. I'm gonna have to, because you got some. I already heard Karate Kid 3. I done heard Elm Street 3. I'm like, man, I could do those. I know them. I know them. So, all right. Well, go ahead and we'll go ahead and put a little out here for the film. Moving Violations might not have been a box office smash, but it's a chaotic, laugh out loud ride filled with quirky characters, memorable bits, and true 80s comedy energy. If you haven't watched it lately or ever, do yourself a favor, like we've been saying, and track it down. It's a forgotten gem worth rediscovering. And I will tell you, if you just Google it, there is a web archive website that you can go to and you can watch it there for free. It's a legit site. And it's got other things there too. I found that I've watched that's older 80s things that's people might have forgotten as well. So definitely worth getting into. Make sure that you are following us on all the social medias, which is just 2, Instagram and Facebook. We're on YouTube, as he mentioned earlier too. We're doing the YouTube channel here where you can watch all the videos, and you'll find us anywhere where you get your audio podcast out there. So thanks for tuning in this week to Retro Life for You. Once again, if you like that episode, hit the subscribe button and leave a review. I forgot to mention the review part. Reviews would be cool. I could use some reviews. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. As I said, let me know your favorite obscure 80s comedy, and maybe we'll get that on an upcoming episode. We can always use some ideas. So thanks everybody for listening this week. Tim, thanks you so much for coming on with us and co-hosting. That's always good to have you on here.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Look forward to looking at that list here shortly.
Yeah.
Catch you guys later. Bye.